House Freedom Caucus, which is made up of roughly 36 members, put out an official position last month that said it will not support a stopgap funding bill unless it includes language to address the situation at the southern border, weaponization of the Department of Justice, and quote-unquote woke policies in the Pentagon. Now let's move on to the House. So the House will come roaring back into town on the 12th. Here's the latest news on what to expect right out the gate. Per reporting from The Hill, House Republicans are set to face two major and politically polarizing issues when they return to Washington next week. As we've repeatedly reported on the Roundup, September was always poised to be a busy stretch on Capitol Hill. Most pressing should be the reality that lawmakers are staring down that end of the month deadline to fund the government or risk a government shutdown. But this week, Speaker McCarthy announced the House could open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden as soon as this month, and that's kicked an already hectic outlook into overdrive. McCarthy and House Republicans will have 11 legislative days to keep the government's lights on and come to some sort of consensus on a potential impeachment inquiry. Both of these matters are a heavy lift for a conference that has little time and large disagreement on both matters. Logistically speaking, addressing both over the few legislative days in September will be tough. Doing so will require political maneuvering by McCarthy as he tries to balance extremist Republicans pushing for steeper spending cuts and moderates wary of opening an impeachment inquiry. The extremists, however, are making noise about a potential continuing resolution. For those that may not know, a continuing resolution is simply saying we will continue to fund the government at its current levels for X number of months. And basically it's saying whatever we are funding it, we're funding it again for 3 months or 5 months, whatever the case may be. It can be up to a year, could be 3 years, could suspend it, doesn't matter. That's what they could do. Let's continue on though. So the House Freedom Caucus, which is made up of roughly 36 members, put out an official position last month that said it will not support a stopgap funding bill unless it includes language to address the situation at the southern border, weaponization of the Department of Justice, which is not happening, and quote-unquote woke policies in the Pentagon. All right, so culture war. Yeah, all culture war bullshit. I mean, it's not bullshit. Culture is important. But come on, just fund the government. Jesus Christ. But the Republicans, though, can only afford to lose 4 votes in the House, and united opposition from the MAGA side of the House could tank a stopgap bill unless some Democrats cross the aisle and support the measure, which has a large possibility of happening, just like we got over the debt ceiling fight. Whether Democrats will step in again to save the Republicans, as they did with the debt ceiling, will depend on the contents of that legislation, though. McCarthy has pledged to take the vote on impeachment inquiry to the full House. The move could potentially provide him with some political cover, though he may have to turn to the Democrats on this issue as well. According to the New York Post, Florida Republican Matt Gaetz said Tuesday, quote,
I have traveled the country and spoken to so many Americans. They're disillusioned with House Republicans right now. They think that we have not put up a substantial battle to defeat the worst elements of this Biden administration. I worked very hard in January to develop a toolkit for us to be able to reorient the House of Representatives in a productive and positive way. I don't believe we've used those tools as effectively as we should have. And when we get back to Washington in the coming weeks, we have got to seize the initiative. That means forcing votes on impeachment. And if Kevin McCarthy stands in our way, he may not have the job long. So let's hope that he works with us, not against us. But we've got contingency plans in the event that he's not as productive.
There are more than 180 Republican members of the House who are not part of this wing of the Republican Party, and many are from states that Biden won in 2020 and Democrats won in 2022. Among them are Republicans that will face long odds in their 2024 races. Now, on the impeachment front, this could be a way for McCarthy to actually get some concessions from the Freedom Caucus that is really looking to basically grandstand and put up a show of how they're taking it to the establishment and the DOJ and all this other stuff. If they go through with the impeachment inquiry, it goes to committee. The committee is chaired by some of these Republicans. They get to show their base what they're doing. They get to show their donors that they're doing something. And so that might curb down some of the spending woes. So it could be that either they pass the continuing resolution in total with just Republicans, or it gives him enough political cover to be like, look, man, I gave you your impeachment inquiry. Democrats are going to give us our continuing resolution. Let's make this an issue in 2024. Let's not make the government funding an issue in 2024 for us, and it will look better for our team. That is probably the likely scenario here, depending on how the House Freedom Caucus wants to play it. In fact, I think that's probably the best play that McCarthy can make, so don't be surprised if he makes it. For their part, though, are Republicans actually sticking to the plans they laid out, or are they just grandstanding, like we just said? So Republicans ran on 4 specific promises in the 2022 midterms. They took back control of the House, yes, but only by the slimmest of margins in a historic shellacking by the Democrats. The reason why this is called a historic shellacking by Democrats is that, generally speaking, the party out of presidential power does way better in the House than Republicans did. Republicans did not gain all that many seats. They took control, but they didn't take overwhelming control. They weren't up plus 60. They have no wiggle room. And that shows how Democrats were able to politically maneuver on issues such as Trump, abortion, what have you. And it really bet the Republicans in the ass.